Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fat Man Little Trail, the podcast where everyone is invited on the trail. I, as always, am your trail guide, Greg, the Fat Man. I'm all over the podcast platform, so if you would, go ahead and like and share. If you enjoy this content, make sure you like and share it so that more people can see it out there. I'm on Amazon, Google, Apple, Spotify, pretty much all of them that I can think of, and a whole bunch more that I've never even heard of. So if you whatever platform you're listening on, please go ahead and like and share that. And if you want to help support me, maybe get me a teleprompter so that I don't say so many times. There's a link in my bio where you can make a small monthly donation. Even 99 cents goes a long way helping out. So thank you very much for listening. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to tell a quick story today. My cousin Kristen was desperate to find moose. She has lived in Colorado for about 13 years, and she's always wanted to find moose out in the wild. She has always wanted to see one, and she's never actually seen one in the wild. So she asked me if I could go and take her to a place where we might be able to see some moose. And of course, I obliged because it's a chance for me to go to one of my favorite places, which is Brainerd Recreation Area, up just kind of on the peak-to-peak highway between Netherland and Estes Park. One of my favorite places. I absolutely love this place. Think of like Rocky Mountain National Park with less crowds. It's still crowded as all get out, and you need a reservation to get in. But it's just beautiful, and every time I've been there, I've seen moose. I've seen moose probably, I don't know, I've seen 20 moose there maybe, and I've seen them 9 of the 10 times I've gone or something like that. So I said, of course, Kristen, we can go up and we can see some moose. Well, she was driving, and she got us up there, and there's a 2-mile stretch between the gatehouse at Brainerd and the parking area for the different, parking places that you can find around the park. And I'm not going to say that she has a bit of a lead foot, but Mama was driving fast, and she was going, and I said, slow down, slow down, slow down, and then all of a sudden, she slams on the brakes, and she reaches across, and I think she's doing that motherly, I'm going to defy everything that we know about physics and hold your body weight back because I hit the brakes a little bit too hard. That's what I thought she was doing. She did not do that. What she was actually doing was she was hitting me as hard as she could with a open fist across. It was kind of like that John Cena open fist chest slap thing, which echoed everywhere. And at the same time, she's screaming the word moose because she had seen a moose grazing in a field on the driver's side. So she slammed the car down, hit me in the chest, slammed it into reverse. This whole time, I don't even know what's going on. Tears are forming in my eyes. My sternum was cracked pretty much wide open. And she slams it in reverse and plows back about, 10 feet is all we needed so that she could have the perfect picture of this moose, which I understood. The first time I saw a moose, I was pretty excited to see it too. And she's taking pictures, and she keeps saying the words, moose, 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 moose. And I'm like, okay, split sternum here. I can't really react how you want me to. And she takes a few pictures, and I look over, and she's got tears in her eyes. And it was a wonderful experience for her the first time seeing a moose. It was a cow moose. It was not the biggest one I've seen over there, but she was just grazing, doing her thing, enjoying her day. And Kristen was really excited about that, and I was happy that she got to see one. So the next thing we did is we went over to the parking area, and we drove. She drove a lot slower going forward, trying to see if she could see any more moose. And we got into the parking area, and we got out on the trail and started hiking because we also wanted to do a hike. It wasn't just about seeing the moose. So we were doing a hike up to Blue Lake, which is a great little hike if you're ever in the Brainerd area. It's one of my favorite ones over there. And we're doing this hike, and I'm on point, so I'm ahead of her. She's behind me, and it's a single file trail, so we had to walk single file, and I'm 5'5". I'm on the gnome side of the family, as she likes to say, like we're the garden gnomes, and she's normal size. She's 5'8", so she can kind of see over me. And we're going up this trail, and there's a kind of a ridge in the trail, and so I'm just seeing that, and I see this black shape just run across the top of the ridge. I tell her, stop. I think there's a bear up there, which kind of got me excited because I don't see a lot of bear out there. So I was excited to see the bear. And then another one ran by, and she, because she's normal height, she could actually see it, and she looked forward and saw that it was actually a moose. And at that point, I had moved forward a little bit too, and I could see that it was a moose as well. So now we've seen 3 moose. She ran up a little bit, took another picture. I don't think she got a good picture of them. But we've seen 3 moose. We've seen 1 from the car and 2 on the trail. And these 2 were juveniles. They weren't too big, but it was still really cool to see. We went to Mitchell Lake is the first lake on the stop. So we went down to Mitchell Lake and saw that, and she loved that, and I loved it. It's a beautiful area. And then we made our way up to the top. And as we're about a half a mile to a mile away from Blue Lake, we run into this young lady, and she walks by us, and we're so, Kristen's really excited, and I'm having a great time, and the young lady said, "Oh, I was up there for sunrise, and it was beautiful, and the lake is gorgeous, and you'll really like it." And then she says, "Did you see the 9 moose?" Apparently, this young lady had seen 9 moose, and I had only been able to find 3 moose with my cousin, who was obsessed with moose. And she gave me this look. My cousin gave me this look. And I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a long day. And, we said our goodbyes to this other hiker, and she went down, and I spent the next half mile going up to Blue Lake, convincing my cousin that moose are a lot like the fish story. You talk to a fisherman, he said, I caught it had to be an 18-inch long fish. It had to be a 2-foot long fish, but it got away. People always talk about how many moose they've seen, and I feel like it's exaggerated. And I finally, after a half a mile of walking, had her convinced that seeing 3 moose was really good. And this young lady who saw 9 moose was probably exaggerating her story a little bit. So we get up to the lake, and we see these 2 guys that are up by the lake, and they're like, "Hey, did y'all see the 9 moose?" And that was it. My story was over at that point, and I was in some serious trouble. And we spent some time up at the lake, and the lake is beautiful, and if you have a chance to do this hike, it's a really wonderful hike. And then as we're coming down, we saw our first it was a bull, but it was kind of like a baby bull, like just starting to get some horns. It was probably 300 yards away, laying down in this willow field, taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon. And Kristen got excited again because that was the first time. The moose we saw before was a cow at the beginning, and then a couple of juveniles, and then this one just started to grow some antlers, and you could just see them over the willows, and it looked like a giant, black rock. All the rocks in the area were white, and this one was black, and it, would move occasionally because it was taking a nap. So we ended up seeing 4 moose, and Kristen was ecstatic, and I, after icing my sternum for about 2 days, finally got into the excitement of seeing the 4 moose, but we never saw 9. It's one of those places where people see moose all the time, so 9 actually isn't that outrageous of an idea. It's the first place I saw a moose, and it's also the first place that I decided I don't really want to see moose that often anymore, because moose are beautiful animals, but they're enormous animals, and they kind of terrify me because they can run like 40 or 50 miles an hour. They can pick up cars if they want. We've had at least 3 people that made the news out here who've been attacked by moose. 2 of them walking their dogs, and one of them was a lady trying to trail run, and her light didn't work, so she ran into the back of the moose. And I mean, at that point, you're just going to get attacked. There's nothing you can do about it. But moose are always in a bad mood, and people look at them, and they look like these giant, majestic animals. And if you've never seen a moose in the wild, which I'm guessing a lot of you haven't seen a moose in the wild, think about a horse. Think about the biggest horse you've seen. That's the calves. That is the babies. And then probably double it, and that's what the full-grown female moose, and then kind of go 2.5 times, and that's what the full-grown male moose is. So they weigh, probably a couple thousand pounds, and there's videos on the internet of a moose just reaching down with its antlers and picking up the hind end of a car because the car was trying to drive by. So they're actually really terrifying. And but they're beautiful. They're majestic animals. They're enormous animals, and I get how excited Kristen was to see them, and that's just as excited as I am when I don't see them. But it is cool to see these animals out in their wild, setting and how they normally are. And 9 isn't crazy to see. I've seen 5, I think is my record to see up there. But we saw 4 and it was exciting. But it made me start thinking about what my favorite animal to see on the trail is. And I've seen I've seen one bear who ran across the street while I was in the car. I've seen a ton of moose. I've seen more deer than I could count. There was a stretch, there was like 10 hikes in a row where I saw deer. And then I've seen elk. I have seen squirrels. Oh, squirrels. I do not like squirrels. Squirrels are one of the more annoying animals that I've ever come in encounter with on a trail. And the reason that squirrels are so annoying to me is because when you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's that moment where everything just goes still and it's quiet and the hair on your neck starts to stand up and you think, okay, something's stalking me at this point, or there's a mountain lion around, or there's a bear around, and you don't know what it is, but you know it's probably not going to be good. And then all of a sudden you hear this, and it is the squirrel that is sitting in the tree right next to you, just messing with you. And I've jumped out of my skin several times because of that. I've also run into the situation where I'm hiking through the woods and like twigs and nuts start hitting me in the top of the head, and you look up into the tree and there's squirrels up there trying to collect whatever they're collecting and throwing them down to the ground so they can come down and gather them. And I don't care if you're down there. So but my favorite animal I've ever seen, and I think this is my spirit animal, and for those of you who've actually seen pictures of me or know what I look like, you'll understand why I think this is my spirit animal. The animal is a marmot. And marmots are like a cross between a beaver and a woodchuck and a mouse of some sort. So they're these thick, squatty little rodents that live around the alpine lakes around 11,000, 12,000 feet. And they have a nickname called the whistle pig because as you get close to them and they sense danger, they start like this high-pitched whistle and they start running. And these little furry, fat, little squatty things can actually move. They move fast enough that I've seen probably 20 of them. I've never once been able to take a picture of a marmot that is any good. And they'll sit around the lakes and they'll, kind of sit on their hind legs and looking around. But when they run, it kind of looks like a slinky where the front legs move out and like the fat catches up to them and then the back legs let go. So like think of like this giant overweight kind of pudgy slinky running where it's like, or like an accordion where it's like and the whole time they're whistling. They're doing this like and I don't whistle very well, but they're doing this like high-pitched whistle as they're running away from you, and they're just adorable. I've got to be honest with you. They're one of the cutest animals I've seen out there. But they're totally my spirit animal because there's these kind of pudgy, short legs. I'm 5'5" and I'm overweight, so hence the name Fat Man Little Trail. But they just love to walk around to find all these alpine lakes. And, if they have to move, it's physics is doing a lot to get that mass to move, just like myself. So I think that, as a spirit animal, I think marmot wraps me up the best that I can think of from animals. So I get excited to see marmots. I get excited to see those small animals, and moose I don't get as excited about. But to see somebody who, with my cousin, when she saw that first one, she literally had tears in her eyes. So to see somebody that excited about seeing a moose was pretty cool to me as well. But for me, Bring me a marmot any day. Those are the fun ones to see. The one thing I haven't seen and I hope to never see is a mountain lion. They are pretty terrifying to me. And I guarantee you one has seen me. I guarantee you they've stalked me. But hopefully I never run into one. But so that's my story about seeing a moose for the first time. My cousin was great. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. That person who said she saw 9 was just killer. I thought we were going to be out there all day trying to find another 5, but it ended up working out just fine. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about real quick is my hike of the week. It's still fall. We still have some beautiful fall colors out here. The aspens and the willows and everything else in between have changed to a beautiful golden yellow, and there are plenty of places to go out in Colorado to see them. I think I talked last time about Kenosha Pass, which is not really a hike, but more of just an area where you can pull off the highway going over this mountain pass and see amazing colors. So what I did this last week, my hike was I went to a place called the Abyss Trailhead, and the Abyss Trailhead goes up through the national forest there's a Helms Lake, which is what I did it to, and then further on, and about another 2.5 to 3 miles down the trail, is a place called the Abyss Lake, and that sits at the base of, I think it's Mount Evans or Mount Bierstadt, one of the 14,000 foot mountains. It's kind of down below that. And it's beautiful up by the lakes because you're completely surrounded by this just wall of mountains. But the trail up to it, leading up to it, has like one of the greatest concentrations of aspen trees that I've seen on a hike. I've seen them by the side of the road and things like that, but to actually go out on a hike, and the first 3 miles are not really that hard on the trail, and that's where all the aspens are. There's a little bit of rocky steepness when you start, but as you get into it, it flattens out, and it becomes like a really nice nature walk, and then you cross over a creek, and as soon as you make it to the creek, like the entire next mile is nothing but aspen trees, and it's absolutely one of the most beautiful places I've gone to hike. It's super popular. I went on a Monday afternoon, I think, or a Monday morning, and the parking lot was full, plus cars were parked all the way down the side of the road. So if you go on a weekend, it's crazy popular and really packed there as well. Once you get past the creek, it's all aspens, and then there's like the last, maybe 300 yards is literally just the trail is like completely covered and surrounded 100% by aspens, and you just walk through this golden forest where leaves are falling on you in slow motion. It's kind of like one of those wonderful movies that you would see about nature. So it's really fun. Now, if you want to go to the lakes, you have to cross the creek again, and then the trail goes from being this nice, beautiful, walk through the woods to a really steep and really rocky hike up into the lakes, and you get like 2,000 feet of elevation gain in 3 miles or something like that. It's beautiful, but it is a challenge, and it makes you work for it. So that is my hike of the week. That's where I've gone. I've done a lot of these fall color hikes lately, and I've got a bunch of them on my website right now. And the Abyss hike, Abyss Trail to Helms Lake hike is on my website right now as well, so you can read more about that and find the YouTube links and things like that if you want to see what the trail looks like. So that is all the time that I have for today. I had that story with my cousin and how excited she was to see the moose, and I just had to share that because it was such a fun time, except for when she slapped me across the chest, WWE style. So it was a really, really fun time. Moose are amazing animals, but you just don't want to get too close to them. So that's all the time I have for you for this week. Like I said, if you enjoyed this, make sure you go ahead and like, share, whatever else it is that each platform has for you. Follow me and do whatever you can, and I will get you more content as soon as I can. I'm working on some more interviews. I know I've had some good luck interviewing people, and I've got a couple more lined up that I'm just working to get some schedules worked out. So the next few podcasts hopefully will be interviews. So until then, I hope to see you on a trail really soon. Till then, happy hiking.